What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, back with another live stream. Here we go. This is a good one because it feels like a bull run again, right? We're getting those bull run vibes. My portfolio went up a good 10% at least in the last 2 days. So we're getting those vibes that we had about a year and a half ago. That's not to say that we're in a full on run, but it feels good to watch Bitcoin running, altcoins starting to move up a little bit behind that spot ETF rumor mill and leaked information, what have you. We're going to talk about it all here in this live stream. We'll talk about the Bitcoin pump. We'll talk about crypto. We'll talk about OMI in the near term. We'll get into your questions in the chat. So let me know if you are here. So far, we've got Adam in the house. He was first. What's good? Second, SoCal in the house. Captain Super Rush in the house. Let's do this. Yes, it feels good to see prices go up, right? We spent the last year and a half. It's been tough if you've been in this environment, if you've been investing in, OMI, crypto, and bear markets are unforgiving, right? We've experienced the FTX collapse and everything that came along with that, the cascading effects of it, multiple exchanges going down, people questioning if, this is the end, people proclaiming, Bitcoin and crypto done again, happens every cycle. The threat of regulation and Gary Gensler going after Coinbase, all these projects losing to Ripple. All this stuff has been happening for the last year and a half. And now we're getting closer, 6 months out to the Bitcoin halving. But more importantly, closer and closer, it seems, to that spot ETF approval, which is a major catalyst and narrative for this next cycle. Institutional money, legitimacy for the space. So really exciting to watch it unfold piece by piece and bit by bit. Who else we got up in here? We got Slider 2333 in the house, season 3 OG. We'll talk about some crypto stuff, of course, talk about Veve and the Funko partnership and all the Veve stuff also. They announced, I think, Adam's Family today, which was pretty dope. Oh, I got a super chat already. Zach in the house. What's good, Zach? Thank you. Appreciate you. And that super chat. Thank you for coming through and spending time here. So, guys, be active in the chat. Ask your questions. I'm going to be back and forth in the chat. I love interacting, and it's great to be with all of you on this Tuesday. But to look at the chart, you'll see, I'm sure you already know, that big run up of Bitcoin. I don't know if it might have hit 35K. I think it touched 34.99. There was a huge buy order that just sent this thing going up, straight up. What a big move in a short period of time. And it's really a reminder, if you've been around this space, you go through a lot in the bear market, right? You'll get beaten down 90, 95%. But if you stick it out and you accumulate, the moves up are fast. They're rapid. It's a very volatile space. And before you know it, things start moving again. And then they seemingly don't stop moving once we get into that bull market. So is this a bull market? Are we in one? I think that if you characterize it as the bottom being in and the 20% move from the bottom, I think we are in the very early stages of the next run. A lot of people waiting for lower, waiting for a new bottom, saying that the bottom wasn't in yet, the price would go lower. it's risky to sit on your hands, right? When you're in this, when prices are already so low and things are so undervalued and you know where they're going, it's risky to sit on your hands and wait for lower. All right. So I've always preached, my whole thing is DCA along the way and go hard on dips. That's been my strategy this whole bear market. And I bought a lot of Bitcoin at 15,000, 18,000, low 20s. I nibbled in the mid 20s and even 28,000. I was buying some. Was buying OMI in the triple zeros, still in the triple zero range, loading up on a bunch of altcoins, and I'll still be loading up over these next couple months. Really exciting. So Bitcoin it's pulling back a bit, settling in, and I wouldn't be surprised to see another run up to $40,000 in the next week or so. I think it still has room to go. There's so much, I think, positive sentiment around that whole ETF narrative, and it hasn't even officially been announced yet. So if you've not been paying attention, BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust has been listed on some like depository, on some like underwriting thing, right? The ticker showed up and people got wind of it. So it suggests that the approval is imminent, and it's been rumored to happen. It's funny because last week, was it? I think it was Cointelegraph, whatever publication, put out a news story that it was approved, and the price jumped instantly to, let me pull that up. If it was here, the price instantly jumped on the fake news of the approval. In hindsight, that was likely not fake news, right? It was just secret news or stuff that couldn't be verified yet. And again, this whole thing could it's not, they haven't come out and said that the spot ETF is officially approved yet, right? So there's always that to keep in mind. But, all things are pointing to it. Back to that earlier point, when that news leaked in Cointelegraph and people thought it was just fake news, a fake out, it was interesting because the price went up and broke 30,000 and then sold off, but it held strong at like 29,000. It didn't completely dump. And maybe the reason is because people behind the scenes know, right? They know that the spot ETF is on the horizon, and that's really the narrative that's jump-starting the next cycle, and it's going to bring in tons of institutional, it has the potential to bring in tons of institutional money, pension funds, etc., into the space. We got Chago in the house. What's up, Chago? 25 people. Drop your name. Let me see who's up in here. We're talking about Bitcoin. Going to talk, of course, about OMI and other alts, whatever you guys want to chat about. If you look at OMI token, it had a decent move up along with the rest of the market. This was OMI's price action following Bitcoin. Went up a good 10%, which is a decent move up. And OMI, if you know OMI doesn't always follow the rest of the market because it exists in its own kind of space. It's not on a lot of exchanges. It's not really very well known to the wider sector. And so oftentimes you'll see a big run up and OMI kind of staying flat, like a stable coin. Or then, when a catalyst happens, or sometimes out of nowhere, OMI will move to the upside while the rest of the market, crypto market, moves down. But it was interesting. OMI did keep track with the likes of ADA and some other coins. Some coins like Solana went, Sol did like a good 30% move or so in the last week. Of course, they have their own event happening, Breakpoint, and some other catalysts on that end. But OMI did keep up with ADA and other coins. It's since sold off a bit. Went up to about 0.0092. Currently sitting at 0.0087. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is kind of like at a bit of a support level. We'll see if it holds, what the market does. Again, my expectation is that Bitcoin has some room to go up and to move, and then it'll settle back down into the 30s. We'll see. My plan was to add more this next week. I wanted to buy some more Bitcoin and some more alts, including some OMI. But now that things are running, I don't chase green candles. I'm going to wait to see things settle before I make a decision. But we could see Bitcoin ending the year, close to $40,000, which would be more than a double. Right now, it's at a 2x. I think it started the year at about a little over 15,000 was the bottom. And Bitcoin has doubled already. So if it hits $40,000, that's another 33% move up from where we're at. I can see that happening. And when I think about where OMI could be end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if we say goodbye to the 000 range, especially if OMI, if catalysts come out like golden tickets, Veveverse, wider release, which Dan said that they would be sending out invites to 500 to 1,000 people for Veveverse. Any of those things could push OMI immediately back up to 000. And with Bitcoin running and a rejuvenated market, especially with the spot ETF, once it's finally approved, we could see OMI shed that 0 this year, which would be great, right? It would also, hopefully people took opportunity. I think a lot of people did. I'm talking to a lot of people in the community, a lot of people in the chat who started, when they started their journey, their goal was to have 1 million OMI, 5 million OMI, and now they have 10 million, 20 million, 3 million, whatever it is, but they far exceeded their goals. And so this bear market, to me, has been a gift, right? And it's not been easy to buy when there's been blood on the street. It's not been easy to buy when people were, sending it to 0 and, saying that it wouldn't come back. I'm talking about OMI specifically. I was buying, even for me, for OMI, it tested my own patience because we didn't get any catalysts on the OMI side for so long. And I said maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I was just in a holding pattern. I had added throughout the bear market, but I wanted to hold and see them make some movement on the OMI side of things. And they did that by releasing the tie-in with MCP and staking. Once I saw that, I was that let me set me in motion to continue purchasing. But I was buying Solana at $8. About, what was that, 6 months ago or 9 months ago? $8, and people were sending it to 0. It wasn't easy. I was questioning if I was crazy. There have been times during the whole bear market when you question if you're doing the right thing and if it's going to pay off. So it's good. It's important to have conviction, and it's important to be well informed about what you're buying, because without conviction, you get shaken out the market. I have many friends. I was texting yesterday, in real life friends, who I've been telling along the way, you should consider buying, some stuff. I was telling them all about the catalyst, Bitcoin halving next year. These aren't people who are crypto savvy, but they bought last cycle. So I've been telling them. And yesterday, one of them texted me, what coin should I buy? Because they saw the moves up, right? People wait for confirmation because they don't have conviction or understanding. And so they wait for confirmation. And I think we're going to be in for a nice bull run. Not yet. I think we're in the beginning stages. So someone said here, slider. I think it could be the start of a bull run, disbelief phase, maybe. People say it's just a bull trap, and then it keeps going up, then dips. But it's putting in a higher low. So I agree. And I had actually had that up as my next slide. I think we're in the disbelief phase. I think we've gone through anxiety. We've been in denial on the way down and maybe caught some falling knives. There was definitely a lot of panic in the market. Remember when banks were going bankrupt and banks were going down? We've been through war, record high inflation, the biggest series of rate hikes, right? In such a short period of time. The Fed has never raised interest rates this fast in such a short period of time. We've been through that, and still we're here. And it shows the resiliency of the market, the resiliency of Bitcoin, the whole space. None of that was able to kill it. It stayed relatively strong, right? Even though Bitcoin broke beneath last cycle's high, right? Which wasn't, or low, whatever it is, the previous cycle high, which it had never done before. So we've been through panic. We've been through the anger phase. And I think we've been through that depression phase. And now we are at the end of this, psychology of market cycle graph, it seems to me. We're in that disbelief phase. Now people are wondering, is this a bull trap? And my whole perspective is prepare for multiple outcomes, right? So I am prepared. I'm just sitting back and waiting. I've been doing my work for the last year. I've been buying low. So that was me putting in the work. Now I'm sitting back and I'm watching, and I'll wait to see where things settle. We had a daily close over whatever, $32,000, $33,000 yesterday on Bitcoin. We'll see what the weekly close is, and then the monthly close, October or Uptober. October's living up to its name. But I'm going to see where things settle and then decide on what I'm doing. But in terms of when to start accumulating again, because I'm going to continue to accumulate while I have an opportunity. But then what happens after that disbelief phase? We go back to the beginning of the chart. We go to hope, right? I would think that the hope phase will likely come end of the year, beginning of next year, as we gear up for the Bitcoin halving, which is now approximately 6 months away. We'll hit that hope cycle. Then we'll get into optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. All right. So it's funny how it just plays out like this cycle after cycle, right? This is now another cycle where things are kind of repeating and the setup is there and anything could happen. Always prepare for multiple outcomes, but the setup is there. Spot ETF approval, Bitcoin halving, inflation subsiding, rate hikes pausing, and then mid next year possibly coming down. All right, and take all that and throw in some regulatory clarity as the SEC continues to take L's right? They lost the Ripple suit. They dropped their countersuit or their appeal or whatever it was. They lost the to BlackRock or the ETF process. They lost that one. Now imagine Coinbase. They take an L to Coinbase, and perhaps we get some regulatory clarity. It's really a perfect storm that's kind of brewing for next year. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. And I think we should always prepare for multiple outcomes. But I also believe in celebrating the wins, especially when you've taken a lot of, when you've been beaten down throughout the year. We've been beaten down, and it hasn't been easy to hold and accumulate when people are calling you crazy and saying that things are going to zero. So it's good to celebrate the wins, and this week has been pretty dope. So let's see who else we got here. What's up from Australia? Ash in the house. What zones will you exit OMI? So this is a very good question. This is a really good question. It's one that I'm constantly thinking about. I haven't made my mind up yet. As we get closer to the halving, I'm going to decide what my exit strategy is for OMI. And I'm not going to be exiting completely. So when I say exit strategy, don't tweet out that I'm leaving OMI behind. But my last video, I talked about potential price for OMI in the next cycle. And I brought up the possibility of it not perhaps hitting a new all-time high. So as we get closer to halving, I'm going to see where I stand on the probability of that happening. And that will determine where I will start layering out. If I'm convinced that OMI is hitting a new all-time high and breaking through, a penny, was like a penny and a third or whatever, was its previous all-time high. If that's my thought process heading into the halving, I'll probably look to layer out at around a penny. Right? So my strategy is to always start layering out before where, underneath my price target, well below it, and then do chunk by chunk. So if OMI breaks through a penny and a half, I think 2 cents, 3 cents, possibly higher is in play next cycle. I would probably start layering out at a penny and do it percentage-wise, right? So take out maybe 10% of my holdings or even 20%. I don't know. We'll see. And then do another 20% at 2 cents, another 20% at 2.5 cents, something like that. This way I'm DCAing out the same way I DCA'd in. But it's very important to make a plan beforehand, because it's going to get hard to sell once we're in that euphoria stage, right? Every fiber of your being is going to be saying to hold and hodl, and that it's going to keep going up. You can't listen to those fibers, right? You have to sell into the euphoria, sell into greed, buy into fear, sell into greed. And so that layering out is my preferred way to sell, because one, it's psychologically easier. I'm not selling out of my whole position, right? I'm selling out of a piece of it. And so if it keeps going up a lot, I still have the rest of my bag. At the same time, when you sell a little, like when you sell that first 10%, at that point, all my initial investment will be sold. So I'll be playing with house money, right? So that also takes some of the stress out of the equation. But definitely come up with a plan. Whatever your price targets are, think about it. Think about your sell points. and try to stick to it, because one of the one things you don't want is to hold on the way down, right? And not pull the trigger. So Captain Sugar Rush, it kind of concerns me that things are kicking off so soon, as there are so many things, Veve, to get right still. Yeah, so I'm not really. So now we talk about Veve and Omi and all the catalysts there for them. And that's also, to me, kind of exciting, because all the catalysts that we've been waiting for, they're pretty much still ahead of us, right? And the community, as you know, disgruntled and as some people are, and as some may have left, this community is still really, really strong. I would say it's one of the stronger communities in the whole space. So when you have that community with those catalysts, I think it's, again, a good setup for nice price movement. Now, there are many things they need to get right. What I want to see is that Veveverse kick out to a broader audience, and I want to see the golden tickets, bronze tickets or golden tickets. Are they bronze tickets? I want to see those launch. All right. And then the thing is, we don't need to get everything right. So there are so many things that Veve still needs to do, from getting MCP points done to, you know, the things I already said, to all those other parts of OUP, OMI to accessory, all of these things that they need to accomplish. But they don't need to accomplish all of them in order to be successful next cycle for OMI, right? As long as they hit a cadence, they're going to be fine. And we saw that when they hit their first utility. It was just the first bit of OMI utility, and we saw the price go up 100% from bottom, right? 00055 to 0012, I want to say, on the heels of that first bit of OMI utility. So I think that there are a lot of catalysts that are going to be spaced out and that are going to get people excited, not the least of which is major exchanges, which we've waited this long for exchanges for OMI. I'm fine with them now waiting until the proper bull run. I think that'll bring the most attention to the project and bring the most eyes to it. Which is a good thing for the Veve side too, right? Because at that point, you're going to see OMI as a top trending coin. Once it's listed on a major exchange, you'll see that. And people are going to be asking, what is this? People who are not familiar, and they'll get introduced to Veve by proxy. So, I don't mind now waiting. We've waited this long. I don't mind waiting another 6 months or so for major exchanges, because let's make the most of it and get the most eyes possible on this project that is still relatively unknown to the wider space, right? So a lot to be bullish about, I think. Likely Jordan interviewing David Monday. What would you ask, chat? Yeah, I'm hoping to be on there as well. I know that David is coming on a Comiverse. Hoping to be on that one. I've got some things to. It's a good question. One thing I'm curious, and I think I would ask about, is edition sizes. On the Veve side of things, it's something that I think that I kind of disagree with with what they do. Otherwise, I'm not sure. I haven't given a lot of thought to it yet because it's still some time away. If he's on next week and I happen to be on there, I'm going to plan some questions over the weekend, and hopefully Jordan lets me get some good questions in there. But it's going to be exciting for sure to have David on, but there would also be 4 other guys on there. So I'm hopefully I can get in there and get a couple questions out. But shoot some ideas out for sure if you've got ideas that you want or questions that you want asked. What's good? We got Alex and crypto in the house. Bitcoin run is great. Sell profits from altcoins and buy more OMI while it's under 001. So yeah, whatever your strategy is, follow it and execute it. If you have a certain target, I've got my own strategy. I am looking to add some more OMI in this 0008 range in the next few weeks. So I'm hoping that Bitcoin settles down, right? And doesn't run up to 40K and everything follows suit. Because I actually was planning to sell a chunk of my stocks next week. And I'll have some good money to spread out. I'm here listening. My bullish asset is Caspa. You don't mention a lot. It's okay. So my OMI for Caspa will buy back. Caspa's moved a lot recently, I've seen. And Caspa is on my list of coins to watch. And I made a video, last week's video. I mentioned my 3 micro caps that I bought, that I've been buying. Caspa is a coin that is on my list, my watch list. And it's something that I may add. But there's so many projects out there, so many coins out there. I do recommend diversification. I know a lot of people love one coin, but I try not to marry your coin and try to diversify a bit just to protect yourself. But everyone's got their own strategy. SoCal speculation, 56 days till bronze tickets. Batmobile drop decon time frame, only 71 more days till 2024. Yep, would be dope if we get those bronze tickets in a timely fashion. Only 5 more 2-week cadence cycles until 2024. That's crazy. Season 7 starts next week. It's crazy how fast this year has gone, right? That we're now in quarter 4. We're almost in November, which means that we have 8 weeks. We'll have 8 weeks left until end of the year, and then 2024. Really crazy. My personal opinion is whenever we have crypto pain, collectibles will skyrocket, especially if people are seeing gains. Yeah, and I've talked about this specifically on the just the OMI side of things. Think about OMI to NFT, crypto pain. Think about OMI to NFT. Think about OMI going up to 008 next cycle, which is, I think we can all agree, highly likely, right? That it at least gets there. That's about a 10x from where we are. Imagine how much money people will have. People who have like 20 million OMI, 50 million OMI, 100 million OMI. They'll be OMI rich, just like people were ETH rich. And I do think we're going to get arbitrage between OMI and Veve, right? I think in the bear market, there is kind of a flight to the best assets, and a lot of people, you don't get a lot of liquidity and high risk stuff, right? But as that money starts flowing and people have liquidity, you're going to see them buying up collectibles, and I think you'll see some of those collectibles pump. And then once those collectibles pump, maybe the opposite happens. If OMI dips, collectibles pump. You see arbitrage between the Veve collectibles and OMI. Interesting. Heard rumor last night on a stream, Veve may have equity stake in Cavernous. Who said that? Researched earlier, couldn't confirm though. Interesting. Where's everyone in the chat from? OG Vault in Indiana. We got Blase in Melbourne. What's up, Mark in the house? What's good, Mark? Slavs, Australia. A lot of Australian Veve fam. Yeah, so we got make sure you guys hit the like for sure. All right, let me get back to my notes here. So let me share my screen. Another interesting thing coming around in January is the event that Dave and Dan are going to be speaking at. This is tweeted out by Mo Collections. Has anyone else seen this? This is the Crypto XR France event. We've talked about it here in the last couple streams, but I'm loving this. Soon with Omeo and Wink in their special guest. Dan and Dave are speaking at this event, and this is a crypto-centric event. This is not a Veve thing. This is more of an Omi thing, and that's going to be great to see because for the longest time, one of the narratives that's taken hold or a lot of people are questioning is whether or not the team cares about Omi. They seem to only care about Veve and only talk about Veve. And it's a big deal, like when David wears his hat. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at that conference, what they talk about, and the sentiment around Omi after it. So that's going to be interesting. Again, that's happening in January. This is another tweet I saved. I bookmark tweets throughout the week because I think they make for interesting talking points. Veve Viral tweeted out a poll last week asking what happens to the price of Omi if all three happen within the next 18 months. Omi to NFT, Bitcoin above 50K, Omi listed on a top crypto exchange. It's interesting to see what people think. And about 19% said still under half a penny. 30% said 0.005, half a penny to over a penny. 31% said new all-time high. And 19% are delusional and said more than 5 cents, baby. So 18 months. Can we get Omi to NFT? Yes. We likely will get Omi to NFT in another 18 months. Will Bitcoin get above 15,000, 50,000? Yes, it will definitely get above 50K. And will Omi get listed on a top crypto exchange? I think it will. So it's interesting to see the split. Half of people thinking it's not going to get back to an all-time high and half thinking it's going to blow past it. It's going to be interesting to watch next cycle where things go. I'm really excited about it. And it's going to create for some great discussions along the way and speculation. And hopefully a lot of people here make a lot of money. Funko fiasco. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the Funko thing. I think that the Funko thing overall is a big win. I think that they could have done better. And I think this is what you're alluding to, SoCal. So one, David made his bounty offer of 40,000 USD for the #1 gold Iron Man. All right, but I think that I guess some of the mix up came in the fact that there are multiple #1s, right? I think each rarity has its own #1 mint. And then on the physical side of things, those don't have their own serial numbers. I've seen people talking about that and being upset. I know Superstar Money made a video about it, and I think OG Vault, I bookmarked this one right here. This was a good tweet, an interesting idea that he brought up. Is it still considered a phygital product if the physical collectible doesn't have a matching serial number with the digital counterpart? Right? That's a good, an interesting point. And Superstar Money, I didn't get a chance to watch their video, but I have to circle back to theirs. They also explored the whole phygital space and what people are doing and what constitutes a phygital. So my perspective on it is, one, I think that the partnership is amazing, and I think it's a big win. I'm going to talk about the positives first. I think it's a big win. I think that David's bounty and was fun and creates excitement around it, because now people are rushing to open up their, Funkos. People who maybe would have kept them sealed, rushing to open them up. But, and I think I bookmarked this tweet also. NFT Pirates brings up a good point here. I really hope the number one is the black and gold variant. This would put this original Funko in the top 10 of expensive, most wanted Funkos. This would open the eyes for physical collectors. And that's, a great point. And a great byproduct of all this is that, once these are all out, and I haven't checked the marketplace, but once these are all out and selling for crazy numbers, or that, if there's a Funko that sells for a record number because of the Veve collectible attached to it, it's going to cause crazy headlines, right? It's going to, bring a lot of eyes from the people who collect on the physical side of things, or a lot of, very enthusiastic Funko collectors who sat out the 18-inch gold because they don't like it, right? If you watch those YouTubers, I forget their name, but they're funny, and they've been poking fun or just talking about Veve. They talk about how a lot of Funko collectors don't even want these big gold variants. They don't like them. But now imagine one sells for $20,000, $30,000 because of that bounty. It's going to bring a lot of eyes to the product. And then maybe you get those Funko collectors dabbling in Veve, checking it out, and hopefully finding a connecting to it. Because I think there's a lot of overlap there between Funko and Veve, right? They both appeal to collectors of multiple fandoms, right? Funko releases products for everything, every pop culture, sector, including real life people, rappers, musicians, right? They encompass everything. So there's something for everyone, and people who love, different fandoms. I think that's one of the things that draws them to Funko. And that's something that Veve has. Veve has the same, I think, appeal as Funko in its digital form. And that is its massive IP, everything that's under its umbrella. And as that widens and hopefully they get sports, they get music, and they get all these things, it just gets broader and broader and gains more appeal. So, the pretty dope to see this unfold. I do think it's a missed opportunity. I think it's a missed opportunity to not have the matching mints. I think that would have been cool. It opens the door for debate of what phygital is. Should the physical and the digital be married together in a sense, like have the same exact mint number? And so the digital is the physical's counterpart. And I kind of agree that it would be nice if the physical serials match the NFTs. All right, but maybe that's something that they take note of and they learn from. So this is also their first drop, right? And I think that there are going to be many more. And so, you learn as you go. And we're in a completely new space and, sphere, whatever, with digitals alone. And now you bring in the phygital aspect to it. It's going to be interesting. Um, but it's also interesting to watch over on eBay people selling, sealed Funko Ironmans for over $300, 359. This was best offer, could have gone under, right? And there are a bunch listed right now. And maybe some FOMO kicks in. I wish that I like what Cryptoys does by allowing you to leave your collectible unopened, so you don't know what you get, right? And they do that. So I would love for one day Veve having blind boxes and you having the option to open your collectible at a later date. And then that drives maybe you have a comment in there, but maybe people are willing to spend a lot more on that in the future with the hopes of getting a secret rare. You see that in the card industry. When I was buying baseball cards, I would buy sealed boxes from 6-7 years ago in the hopes of getting some hot rookie cards so I could send them off to grading. And I think there's an opportunity there also for Veve to do the same. So I love the Funko partnership. I think it could have been executed better. I agree with Vault on the cereals. But you live and you learn, and I think that that's something that can be adjusted. Let me get back to the chat. Mark says utility is going to come, I believe, before the France conference. So he's talking about, that's now more utility for the OMI token. Quite possibly the bronze tickets drop. That's next. Bronze tickets would be dope. Now imagine a scenario where Bitcoin end of the year is $40,000. Bronze tickets are out, and David and Dan are going to speak at an OMI conference. Think about the sentiment, right? The token trades off of sentiment. And when it was trading at 0005 and 0006, sentiment was down, right? It was at a record low. Think about, that scenario. 40K Bitcoin, bronze tickets out, and now you're looking to the next piece of utility, whatever that may be. And maybe that's OMI to NFT. Maybe you'll have the ability to buy OMI directly from the Veve wallet. So, we're always looking forward and pricing things in and looking at what's next. I think end of the year where we're going to be in a good position if they keep on, delivering things. I can see good things coming. Super strong community. The Funko community was laughing at the 18-inch gold Funko when it wasn't their normal pop brand. Guess what? We sold out anyways. Yeah. And that's a strong community because there are people. This was only available to Americans, right? And the Veve community is from all over the world. Half of you guys are from Australia. You know what I'm saying? I shipped it. I bought a couple of these for Veve fam in Germany, and I'm shipping them over. I saw Veve Meister received his. Someone shipped it to him. Imagine if, so there was like some laughter or whatever because they announced a sellout and then it really didn't sell out. But then it did eventually sell out, so it sold out twice. Imagine if it was open to the whole world and, European Veve collectors could buy them. Also imagine that you weren't capped at buying two or three. I think I was able to buy 3, but I was only able to buy 2 in the first few hours, right? You can only buy 2 for one address. But then I was able to buy another one. So I think Funko sees a good deal or recognizes that this is a good partnership, and there are going to be many more. And it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves and how many. Now, I hope they don't raise I hope they don't try to sell like 5,000 of these next time at 150 a pop and oversaturate the market, which I can kind of see them doing. I don't want them to oversaturate this end of it. And they should be spread out and paced out, right? Because these are big drops, $150. So we'll see how it evolves and where it goes. But I love the partnership. And again, it's building during a bear market. So when I think about what I want to see out of the projects that I like, I want to see progress. I want to see forward movement. And as slow as Veve and the team is on the development side of things, on the technology side of things, they have continued to move things forward, right? They have developed great new partnerships, and they're looking to continue to grow. So bronze ticks in 60 days or less, but that won't bring new users, just an internal pump. Yeah, I think new users on the Veve side of things, I think we're going to have to wait. I think the Funko partnership has the potential to do it. They also brought in, which was pretty dope, they hired, I think I bookmarked that. What's her name? Miss Deuce or something like this. But they hired someone specifically for like social media or the ambassador program, right? So they're looking to branch out, and I'm trying to find her, but I can't find her. But that's another sign of building during the bear market, right? Bringing in new hires, looking to build out the brand. So those things to me are bullish. I think the collecting space gets a bad rep. It actually has big money. And this is also something that the sector needs to overcome, is the whole NFT, stigma of, there was, the headlines of, they're down 99%, NFTs are dead, and all these things that are in mainstream media that everyday people are seeing. That has to change, and that only changes in time. So I do think it's going to be a slow recovery on the Veve side of things in terms of users. The only catalyst I see is liquidity from Bitcoin macro gains, patience for the right market phase. All fundamentals of OMI are fine, and dev work is being done. Yep. What's good? Cool Mo in the house. What's up, buddy? Now with XRP and case dropped, OMI should not have any worries about being a potential security. Big exchanges. So I still think that there is still the lawsuit against Coinbase that named ADA, Solana, and a bunch of other coins, Rally, I want to say, as securities. So while I think the risk has lessened, I think the risk still exists. And I still think they're going to be wary of American exchanges. I think Coinbase is going to be wary or extra careful about the coins they list. And I think that the Veve team, the OMI team, is going to be careful about what countries they list in. So I don't think Coinbase will be one of the exchanges. I do think Binance, KuCoin are definite possibilities. But I do think that it's going to happen after halving, is just a guess on my part. I think that they have certain things in mind. I think they have a certain cadence and an order of events that they want to release things in. And it seems like getting more utility out first is part of that. So those are my thoughts on when exchanges. Blockchain gaming has been a beacon of success, attracting a whopping $2.3 billion in investments for 2023 with a staggering $600 million. Yeah, but that's VC money. right? So there still is VC money flooding into the sector. And the whole gaming narrative, I think, is going to be big. And again, that once the game, I think if the gaming sector comes in, that there's some overlap there with NFTs. It's going to help rejuvenate the whole space. Tony rep in New York. We got CJ from Houston, Prince from Vegas, Slavs from Melbourne. In 2023, the Southeast Asian Pacific and mobile game market is set to generate 5.8 billion with forecasts skyrocketing. Yeah, which is why I'm targeting gaming tokens next cycle. My micro caps, I just started buying games for a living. I will continue to load up there. Kumo's from Orlando. A lot of Aussies. Today in Spaces, the digital one is the bounty one that David is going for. He also interested in the one of all the other colors too, which is kind of like hitting the lottery, right? Knowing that there are this bounty on it and that David's looking to collect them all. Is super dope and exciting. So good luck to everyone who, anyone out there. Hope you all get a one. Hope I get a one. And it's going to bring headlines and it's going to bring attention in the Funko community. Nice. SoCal already received his. I can't believe you didn't open him yet. Oh, man. Mark says, good luck. No love to travel on Australia's bucket list. Would be nice if physical cereals. Yep, we said that. We talked about that. Omi goes to $1. There are 5X number ones, one per variant. Yeah, Gasselcast is thanks, Living Aloha. And Living Aloha is another person you can, if you're interested in the whole Funko community, he's also there. So yeah, Gasselcast is they're the YouTubers, and it's interesting to watch them talk about the Veve community. One of the things that Gasselcast says is that they've never met such a passionate community, right? And so it's interesting to watch the outsiders react to how crazy we are. Let me jump down a little. I'm going to jump around the chat. Jayco in the house. What's good? Yeah, Metcalfe's law. So Metcalfe's law is the network effect, right? Yeah, I think that the bigger that Veve gets, and this is why it's important to give it strong utility, right? Metcalfe's law is the idea that as a network grows, the whole network becomes more valuable, right? And I definitely think that if Veve is able to scale appropriately and hit the targets, they don't even have to hit. So when you talk to David, when you hear David talk, he throws numbers out there like 1 million users, which is a big number. But even if we had 50,000 or 100,000 active users, and a certain percentage of them are, fervent and passionate, they're going to have to buy Omi in order to, participate in certain things or, accrue points at a faster rate, or eventually once full utility, kicks off. And there are certain drops like secret rares airdrop to people staking a certain amount of Omi. If you're a big collector, you're incentivized to hold Omi. That's what a good utility program does. It incentivizes and forces Veve collectors to use Omi. We saw with the first bit of utility, people who are big into Veve start buying Omi. Sanjay is a prime example of this. Um, he only had a couple million Omi, and he really had no interest in it because he's here for Veve. But he went and got 10 million Omi so that he could stake it. Others did that as well. I saw a lot of others who were more on the Veve side of things. So now consider Metcalfe's law of like a network expanding and then the network becoming more valuable as a result. If Veve is able to scale their user base, it only makes sense that Omi is going to go up in value because people are going to be incentivized to buy it. So yeah, I do think that it will have an effect on Omi. Danny, do you still believe exchanges will happen for Omi? Yes. So you must have joined a little late. Doge, what's good, Doge? Yeah, I think exchanges will definitely happen. I think at this point they are being strategic and likely waiting until more utility is rolled out. And I think it's going to happen during the bull run. We'll see. It's frustrating when you're on this side of it and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and especially when you've been waiting for so long. But it's also important to understand that they have all the pieces of the puzzle. They know exactly what's coming right next and after that, and what's being worked on, and what what the time frames are. And so I'm sure exchanges fits into their overall strategy. And also exchanges cost a lot of money, right? So if you're dropping a couple $100,000 on an exchange for Binance, for instance, at this point, we've waited now this long. To me, it makes more sense to do it in a proper bull run when there are more eyes on the product. Because remember that getting Omi out there to people is basically marketing for Veve in the whole crypto sector. It's free marketing in terms of getting eyes on the product. And so you'll maximize the amount of eyes if you launch a token on major exchanges during the bull run. So those are two really good questions, and those are my thoughts. But again, only they know. Last bull was versus and NFTs. This one, interoperability in gaming. Yeah, definitely think gaming is going to be a big narrative. You can see the setup is there. Interoperability also, I think, will be a narrative. Does anyone know if Japan, South Korea have access to the Veve market? Yeah, I think there are some, what's his name? Aaron on Twitter is in Japan. So SoCal says South Korea does. Hey, what's good? Sleeping Comics in the house says South Korea has extremely strict laws around anything they think or is gambling. Not sure if blind boxes would work there. It's a good point too. And it's, one of their strategies in the next, year or so is an expansion into the Asian market. And I've talked about, I think there are going to be considerable difficulties there. Specifically, I know China has off the wall regulations and shifts their regulations on a dime, right? So you could be outright banned in China, and NFTs were banned for a period of time. And I read an article that you weren't even allowed to label them as NFTs. They had to be called digital collectibles in China, and there couldn't be sales on secondary market. I don't know how factual that was or if it's outdated. I read that. I did some research when the Alibaba partnership came to fruition, but there will definitely be a lot of roadblocks trying to penetrate the Asian market, specifically China. South Korea also seems to have some strict laws. I don't know what it's like over in Japan, but I'm excited for the possibilities of expanding into a new demographic, a new part of the world, and localization and all that. So again, all of these catalysts are still in front of us, which is crazy to think of, right? I remember listening to a Taps Trades video a year and a half ago, and he was talking about localization and, what a big thing it would be for Veve and the app, how it would, bring in anime and all these things. And here we are, and these things are still in front of us. And I know it's frustrating at times that things don't move as fast as they should, or as they could. But I think that once they deliver on all of these things and these pieces come together, they're in a very good position, right? And there's this whole new nascent sector, and they are at the head of it at the moment, right? They're in the lead. They're the number one brand in this digital collectibles industry. You see Todd McFarlane trying to penetrate it and, get in there with a lot of the features that Veve users want, like interoperability, like self-custody, and that true Web3 narrative. And they still have a fraction of Veve's user base. So anything could happen over time. Things could change. But one of the things that really excites me heading into the next year is the fact that all these things that we've been waiting for are now slowly coming together. And I think that it's going to be exciting. Wes, what's good? Wes says, now Crypto Rain said on yesterday's Akomiverse that Omi can hit $5. That's crazy. Love Crypto Rain. I missed yesterday's Akomiverse segment because I was running errands. It's hard for me. I got my own round table, by the way, because I can't always make a Akomiverse. And what I really love about YouTube and having my channel is hosting and directing conversations and interacting with people. So on Thursdays, starting this Thursday, my new show, it's called No Bull with Danny the Bull. It's going to be roundtable discussions with community members, like a Akomiverse on Thursdays. Just a quick plug right there. But I wasn't able to make a Akomiverse this week. I'm hoping to be on it next week. Love Crypto Rain. I think he's very knowledgeable about the space. He's made a lot of money, and he's someone who's been very successful in this space. And so I always pay attention to people who are successful, right? However, I don't think that there's any possible way, and I'll have to go back and rewatch that. There's absolutely no way. And here we go. Mark is clarifying. Crypto Rain said Omi might hit things in a bull run. It shouldn't hit like $5 just from FOMO alone. Yeah, I don't think Omi goes anywhere near $5. That's like, those are like Cavell numbers. And I think last time, maybe I'll pull up, give me a second, and just to talk about what a $5 Omi would look like. I'm going to bring it up again. I went over this in my last stream. Let me zoom in. Zoom. If Omi were to get to a $200 billion market cap, which is huge. The only coins to do that so far have been Bitcoin and Ethereum. You would have to still burn 90% of circulating supply to get there. That's not happening anytime soon. Okay. And that's not, I don't want to, and I'd love to talk to Rain about it. I don't think that's possible anytime soon. We're not burning 90% of circulating supply. We haven't burnt any yet. You have to also understand at some point, OMI is going to be a deflationary, or it's right. That's the whole idea, is that it's going to be deflationary. They're going to burn it through multiple mechanisms. However, they're slow in developing rolling out their features, right? So I would expect a couple of the burning features to be out next cycle, but I still don't think we're going to get all of them out at the pace that they move, right? And so to think that you're going to burn 90% of circulating supply and get to a $200 billion market cap is far-fetched to me. Now, and that's a 90% burn. Let's say they burn a whole bunch of the circulating supply in 2 years. Meanwhile, they haven't burned a single token yet, right? But let's say they burn 33% of circulating supply, which is way more than I think that they're going to burn. But let's say they burn 33%. They'd have to have $1 trillion market cap. That's not going to happen. It will never have $1 trillion market cap. Tesla, has $1 trillion market cap. Companies that change the world. If Google, and there's nothing wrong with that. People are going to make a lot of money, I think, in the pennies, but I don't think $5 is realistic. And Mark brings up a good point. Yeah, well, let's go back here. So I didn't see it. I'm going to have to go back and watch. I know I've heard him say that it could wick up to like $1 or so. He used Axie Infinity as an example, being a couple cents, and he sold. Yeah, so Axie Infinity had a microscopic market cap, and it went to about $10 billion, I think, and that might be high. I don't think it went, maybe it went higher. I don't know. Even if it went 20 whatever billion dollar market cap, you would still have to 10x that market cap, or to get and burn 90% of supply to get to that number for OMI. So there are tokens that are going to 100x and 5,000x next cycle. OMI's not one of them because the market cap is already so big. It did that last cycle. So if you wanted that 5,000% gain, that 5,000x from OMI, you had to get in at the very beginning. And that's where those 5,000x gains in crypto come. It's at the very beginning when it's got a minuscule market cap. Those are the coins that are going to do 5,000x. OMI, at this stage of its life, can easily do a 20x from bottom this cycle, right? I think it could do 100x from this market bottom, which was 0005. I think it can go to 5 cents. But I don't think, anywhere in that dollar range is not going to happen. And this is another, Mark brings up another good point, right? This is absolutely 100% correct. Crypto is an irrational space. It's not a rational market. However, it's not irrational, yes, but not totally, absolutely crazy. And that's what that market cap would be, in my opinion, right? So irrational for OMI would be, 30 billion, 40 billion, even $50 billion market cap. If you were to say crypto's crazy and there's no logic, I think that argument applies to like a 40 or $50 billion market cap for OMI. But, beyond that, like when you get into the hundreds of billions of dollars, it's not going to happen. anytime soon. Not to say that tokens like OMI, you know, 12, 15 years from now can't get the $200 billion. Keep in mind that Disney is like a $200 billion market cap. $200 billion market cap is big, right? That's worth a lot of money. So just for perspective, even if they burned 100 billion OMI, then we would still have 200 billion OMI. And at $5, that would be $1 trillion market cap. Yeah. So it's important. And the reason why it's important to be, I think, realistic, because what happens when you're unrealistic in this space, once that euphoria kicks in. So again, we go back to that chart right here, and we get back into that euphoria stage. And now let's say OMI's at 3 cents, 5 cents. Let's say it hits 5 cents, which is like kind of like the upper range of where I think. When you're filled up with those animal spirits, that's what Warren Buffett calls them. When you're filled up with animal spirits, you got that euphoria kicking in, and you see your portfolio do all those multiples, and then people start talking about, well, it's going to 20 cents, it's going to 30 cents, it's going to go to $1. That's what prevents people from selling, because they think it's going to go higher. Then they inadvertently get left holding a bag because they had unrealistic expectations of what it was going to do. So last cycle, I was convinced Bitcoin was going to 100K. Didn't happen. I think keep your price targets within reason, and it's important to not set them too high, because what's going to happen is you're going to be expecting it, and when that euphoria hits, you're not going to want to sell, and that's when you should be selling and taking profit, right? And profits are only profit on paper unless you sell. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Yeah, season 3 OG. Tesla's market cap right now is not even $1 trillion. It was a big deal when Tesla joined the $1 trillion club. Maybe Ethereum gets there next cycle, but that's it for crypto. Nothing else is getting for years. Maybe, down the line, maybe some other layer ones when this whole space grows. But when you get into those numbers, hundreds of billions of dollars, that a token like OMI is not going there. Have you taken into account staking? Yeah. So staking doesn't take, I have, and I do think it'll help. It'll help people have strong hands and not sell. So I think that there is one of the downsides of the OMI token, and one of the negatives, and I said this last video, was the disproportionate allocation of tokens, right? So for instance, there are a small number of people who have a large number of tokens. People with 10 billion tokens, and that's not even including Dan and Dave, who I don't think are going to sell next cycle. Well, they could. I don't think so. But you've got these people with 10, 12 billion OMI tokens. It's going to put a lot of sell pressure on it. I think that staking helps negate that, because it creates strong hands in terms of people locking up their tokens and not selling. But at the same time, right now, we're capped at 10 million OMI, right? Being able to stake. And as the coin gets more expensive, it'll be harder for people to meet that threshold, right? So 10 million OMI, when it was 0006, was only $6,000, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, $6,000. If OMI's at a penny, is 10 million OMI $100,000? I think so. Yeah. And so definitely staking will play a part in it. And I think that plays into my upper range. Why I think it could go 5 cents or even higher. But I think once you get past 5 cents, you're stretching the levels of like reality. Maybe you get to 7, maybe 10 cents at the outmost in my mind. Beyond that, I think is beyond uh realistic for next cycle. But who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe it does something crazy. And the reason why I wanted to make that video last time was because, and this is important, we always talk about these crazy possibilities to the upside, right? I dream about, I'd love a 10-cent OMI, a 30-cent OMI. Those are not very likely outcomes, right? But we dream about them in the next cycle, I'm talking. We don't envision an outcome that doesn't meet our liking, right? Like not going back to all-time highs. People don't talk about that, which is also within the realm of reason and possibility when you consider that many altcoins never get back there. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. My expectation is that my belief is that OMI has a very strong community. Veve is a strong product. This is a real world company generating real world revenue. And so I think we get new all-time highs. However, I'm not blind to the possibility that we may top out at a penny or 0008, 0009. I don't think it happens, but in the back of my mind, that possibility exists, and we have to leave the door open for possibilities. So if we're going to leave the door open for 10-cent OMI or 20-cent OMI, you got to leave the door open for being underwhelmed. But if your price target for OMI is 20 cents or even 10 cents, you might get left holding a bag next cycle. And, no, not financial advice, but just do your own research and come up with your own reasonable expectations and create your plan. Just my thoughts. When OMI burn? Yeah, from circulating supply. I mean, the reserve wallet doesn't matter anymore, right? Circulating supply burns, I'm hoping kick in soon. And I will say that this bear market kind of wasted the opportunity of burning so many tokens from supply when they were at 0005, 0006. There was the opportunity, but it wasn't ready in time, and it is what it is. As the price goes up, the rate of burn goes down, right? And so you're burning less. So I am going to revisit my price targets when burning mechanisms take effect and when I see a rate of burn. Because right now, I can't realistically calculate what percentage of circulating supply will get burnt by 2025. Because there are so many variables, right? So that's also going to factor into where I believe the price ends up. All interesting things. Love these conversations. Great questions and comments, guys. Ash, thanks, Danny and the fam, for all the feedback today. Great informative show, as always. Thanks for supporting, brother. With OMI at 5 cents, totally realistic, in my honest opinion. What will Walt? That's a good question. Yeah. And that goes back to arbitrage. Will they get back to previous all-time highs? That was a special time, right? So I have like two thoughts on it. One is that it was a special time, a perfect storm or an imperfect storm, right? Where money was trapped in, people couldn't cash out. People were buying gems, heavily discounted gems. And And so there was a market, and plus there were also the fake gems, or the the illicit gems that were purchased. All this money flooded in. And so will Todd go back to 15 and Walt 50? I don't know. But it's going to be interesting because the psychological level has been set. That is perfect or imperfect. That is the previous all-time high. And once things, or if things get running again in that Veve vault, I think that psychology is going to play into it. People are going to look at the all-time high and, do their ratios or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. I have no idea what happens on the collectible side of things in terms of pricing, but I know it's going to be interesting to watch. Dan and David have a combined. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Think about how much they'd be like trillionaires at $5. That's not going to happen. Can someone do the math? Do the math on how rich they would be. 30 billion times 5. Wait, that's only 150 billion, right? My math. It's been a long day. 150 billion. That was an easy one. But still 150 billion combined with what they already have. That's crazy. It's a lot of money. They'd be amongst the most richest men in the world, right? They'd be up there like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. It's good. Mo Collections, NFT Hero. We need a few smaller exchanges now. They continue to change the reasons why no exchanges. I'm not averse to that. Some smaller exchanges. I've been through the frustrations of it, and I've been through the anger part, the frustration part, and I've tweeted it out, and I've asked the question on stage at an AMA. I've just resigned myself to the fact that it'll happen in time. And it is what it is at this point. I would like, even smaller exchanges would be nice, but we'll see. They would have to sell to get to 5 cents, or their tokens would be worth 3 billion. Never happened. Even a 10-cent OMI this bull run is a moon boy price prediction. I think 10 cents is at the very, very upper range. Wes, weren't you a moon boy recently calling for 30 cents? Kind of remember me saying it would go to 3 cents, and you tell me I was crazy. But I agree that 10 cents is beyond. It's a lot. David and Dan, I would imagine, would burn majority of their OMI. We'll see. I don't think that they're going to sell. I don't have a fear of them dumping. We don't even have any current burns. Yeah, I think it's a 300 billion token supply right now. But yeah, we don't have any burns yet. Being that we are on only 2 exchanges at the moment, with the potential 50, 60 exchanges we could be still on, need to buy OMI for their exchanges. Yeah, so usually they do have to buy. The exchange does have to buy some tokens. When burns. NFT Hero, I think only 270. I think it's closer to 300, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 294. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Yeah. If we go to a penny with few exchanges and speculation, do you still think the added OMI utility? Yes. So yeah, and that's interesting. So depending on where we are in the Bitcoin halving cycle, like if there's still a lot of runway. So historically, market tops out 18 months after the halving. It did it like to a T the last couple cycles, 18 months after halving. So let's say we're 6 months after the halving, and we still have a runway in front of us of a good year, and we're at a penny without a major exchange, or with just like KuCoin, not Binance, then I do think that the possibility of going higher to closer to 5 cents exists. So it's going to be interesting to see. In my last video, I talked about how most altcoins don't go back to all-time highs. I think that's going to change moving forward, because as the industry progresses, I think you're going to get more and more real projects, right? I think the majority of crypto projects they're shit coins. They're not real products. They're, chasing money and hype without anything of substance behind them. And so I think that's why in these very early days, the majority of tokens have been like that. As it evolves, you're going to get more and more legitimate projects with strong fundamentals and strong use cases. And so I expect more coins to regain their all-time high as, time goes on. I think OMI is a candidate to do that this cycle. We'll see. But yeah, getting back to this question, if we got to a penny off of, I think if they dropped on Binance now, we'd pump to like half a penny, just off of that hype and community fervor, and then likely crash back down. But hoping for 3 cents by 2025. Yeah. Those are good, nice dreams. I'm with you, SoCal. If you feel that your token is not likely to hit all-time high next run, buy a different token. Correct. So, yeah. I do think it is likely, or not likely. It is a strong candidate. I'm going to use my words properly. It's a strong candidate to reach all-time, to make new all-time highs. I also think that even if it didn't, you could still get a 20x out of it, which is amazing. But I agree. We do need exchanges ASAP. We need to secure some of the crypto speculation market share early. Money's going to flow from one coin to the next, I think. When we get into a proper bull run, I don't think that we'll get left behind if we're not in an exchange before it. Because money moves from one asset to the next. People run something up, take profits, and then they'll look for something that hasn't run yet. Right? And that's how things work. So I do think that I'm not worried about them not having an exchange yet. The amount of arbitrage that will happen with OMI to NFT will also burn, correct, from circulating supply. Yeah. So a lot of good things in the works, and token burns, and it's going to be dope. January 2022 was 2 months after Bitcoin all-time high. All other reasons just added fuel to the fire. Yeah, it also coincided, correct, with that money coming out of there and flying into NFTs. Gold and silver logo will be the one to beat. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That it's holding up. I think it's at like 5K. It's going to be interesting. I really like the Miles Morales. The Spider-Man, the secret rare Spider-Man FA partner statue. There were a lot of grails and good ones. Todd. What if they do a land sale? Yeah. So this is, again, a good hypothetical. My thoughts on land sales. Who was it? Was it Illuvium that did a big land sale and generated like over $100 million? They did over $100 million If they were to do that with Omi and generate a crazy amount of money, and burn all the Omi, that would burn a pretty good chunk right in one, you know, at one time. However, with that much money involved, I don't think that they're going to burn all of the Omi. Like, if they can generate, let's say they generate $30 billion in land sales, and it's all purchasable with the Omi token, and they burn it all, they're making nothing from it. So I don't know if you leave that money on the table, or if they'll leave that money on the table, or if they'll say a certain percentage of the land sale will burn Omi. I don't know what they're going to do. That's one of my thoughts. So it's interesting. It's got a lot of possibilities there, but I'm also curious as to what percentage they would end up burning. Two, will land sales still be a thing next cycle and generate hype? Because that was part of last hype cycle, right? Everyone was talking about land. And I don't know that I've seen, and maybe I haven't been paying close enough attention to these other projects. I haven't seen anyone do anything major with their land. That's my second thought. My third thought is that we're not going to get to land by 2025, right? At the rate that they move, I think it's going to be beyond that. So I'd be surprised if we got to a land sale even in 2025. But those are just my thoughts. We'll see. Dan and David have been building this business for years, putting in crazy hours. They deserve to have all their tokens. Yeah, I have no problems with people selling their tokens, right? I do think that there should be certain protocols, like there are in the stock market. There are times that you could sell, and there are protocols. And I think that there should be in crypto also, because otherwise you're opening yourself up to the possibility of people manipulating things. And I'm not talking about them specifically. I'm talking about just crypto in general. But I think that people do have the right to sell their tokens. Owners, founders, team members, whatever. Many people will take profit after reaching correct. So it will be difficult. So this is also, all these key psychological levels are going to be take profit. You're going to have new people cycle in, and people who have been accumulating like us throughout. Now you have whatever you have, 10 million Omi. You're going to look to start taking profits. There can be many people like that at those key psychological levels. It'll put a lot of sell pressure. We'll see how it plays out. Most crypto tokens are trash. Correct. I agree. Rain said 70% his opinion, of course. Yeah, and that's why I like Omi and think that it could go back to all-time highs and get new all-time highs. But just also understand that, like Litecoin isn't trash. Like it's got its use case and its founder and whatever it does. It's like it was kind of like an alternate to Bitcoin. That didn't regain all-time high. Ripple didn't regain all-time high last XRP. They were under lawsuit, but plenty of good tokens also don't. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, we don't. I've heard different things about how many tokens Ben has. I thought I think it's 12. I've heard also that he had less, but it's a lot of Omi. I don't need exchanges now. The difference between a good song. Yeah, I agree. I agree here that I'm now down to just wait for the exchanges, let them drop during the bull market, generate that hype, the headlines that come along with it. And to me now, that's also a strategy to get eyes on Veve, get the most amount of eyes on them. Do it during a bull run. Omida NFT could be in 2024, right? The question was, but Omida NFT will be after this bull run, right? Now, I think that could be in 2024. We'll see. Feel like the team has a roadmap for exchanges and utility, just waiting. I agree with that. Yep. Slavs, the team is building foundations now for when bull market comes. Devs are building, releasing things now. Yeah, my thoughts. Do you think due to the declining collectible sales, they will try to shift back to more the crypto side? It's interesting. I don't know. It's definitely possible to, I think that part of the reason why they haven't focused on the crypto side is because we've been in this crypto winter and the sector is dead. But I think that as the market heats up again, they're going to start talking about OMI again. And that's probably why they decided to go in January to France, because they know that the halving is coming. And they know that the sentiment's going to change around crypto and what that does and what it did for OMI and what it will do for OMI again. And so I can definitely see a shift to the crypto side. And that's perhaps what that whole thing in January, it's part of their plan. And we look at things in the slivers of information that we're given. But there is, a broader picture that they have. And I would welcome it. I noticed today they are back on Twitter Spaces. I missed that. Alex said something in Spaces teasing Veve and theme park entrances. Yeah, I saw just a little bit of that. I don't know what that would be and if that's connected to Veveverse. I don't know. Maybe this lines up with Disney NFT patents. Could be. Oh, could be. David talked about going to Paris and calling the partners in France to come out and support. Oh, I missed David in Spaces today. I'm gonna have to get a recap from someone. I didn't realize that he was in on Twitter today. Interesting idea that even if Disney does their own NFTs and being in big audience, Veve original, NFTs might become even more valuable. Correct. All right. Thing is, VeChain went from 1 penny to 30 cents with no utility in the last run. I think there are things that we can't calculate that may happen. Yeah, 100%. But so now I have a couple of thoughts on this. One is that is absolutely true. OMI has moved without any hype, without any of the catalysts, right? All of the catalysts are still in front of it, and it did that big movement last cycle without those catalysts. However, it's important to understand that crypto is an irrational space that is kind of based off hype and narrative. And so there are tokens that will have absolutely zero utility, but they'll be part of a sector and fit a narrative, and they will do 20 and 30 X's. And oftentimes it's because it's the coin's first run, right? So a coin's first run tends to be its best run. That's when you get those 5,000x gains, right? Last cycle, OMI did the 5,000x run up, going from its multiple zeros to over a penny. And so it's not uncommon for, vaporware and, ghost chains to pump off of hype and a narrative. So those are my thoughts there. I do think that the utility and the catalyst for OMI are going to help. But we have to understand that crypto is a totally irrational space and things pump without any utility based off of narratives. And oftentimes it's their first run up because they're starting from such a low base. And then people see all those gains and try to get in and ride them up and end up getting sold on. Jurassic Park doors would be dope. Maybe David just wanted to say the word partners as in partner statue. Yeah. So I've been on here for about almost 2 hours. I want to thank you all for joining me on this Tuesday. I'll be back Thursday, first episode of No Bull. I've got Patient Hodler coming on. I've got Mr. V from VV Vantage one half of the Veve Vantage podcast, and I'll likely have another guest on for a little roundtable discussion on Thursday. Make sure that you're here. Thank you all for coming through. I'll see you guys in a couple days. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Peace. Talk to you all next time.